on to seasonal regression. The big difference is that there's 4 slopes, one for each quarter. The first one also represents the fourth quarter that we also use in regression, but then 3 more that will either zeros or ones to say whether if it's quarter 1 it'll be a 1, if it's not it'll be a 0, and quarter 2 would be 1. To be able to represent the slopes of the different quarters, and then still the same y-intercept. So let's go back to our regression sheet, and we're going to make a copy of it because so much of it is already correct. So I'm going to go F6, menu, M, and tab, space, enter. And to rename that, F6, menu, R, and I'm going to hit the end, so I go right to the end and backspace regression, and then home to put the cursor at the front of regression and type the word seasonal, space, and then enter. And then I need 3 more columns, one for each of the quarters after period. So go to cell C1, shift across to have all 3 of those cells selected, and then control space to select those 3 columns, and then control plus to add 3 columns. And the up arrow to name the first one Q1, across to name it Q2, and across to name it Q3. And then we're going to make a formula to say whether this is quarter 1. Have a 1 if it is, 0 if it's not. Now in my company, the first quarter is March. In your company, it might be January. And so if your company, the first quarter is January, the second quarter is going to be April 4, and the third quarter is going to be July 7. So you have to make these numbers, or choose a month number that is going to be the correct one for your company. So in my case, quarter 1 is a 3. So the way I do that, equal if, the if statement, open bracket, month, which will give us the number produced from that month, open bracket, and then I'm going to go over to quarters, and it's going to see what is the month number for this cell. In this case, it's going to produce a 9. Now, by the way, because it's a table, it produces this at quarters sign, and therefore we don't have to hit F4. It automatically is F4ing it. It's always going to refer to the at quarters column, even if we autofill it to the right, which we're going to do in a minute. So then close the brackets, and then if that equals 3, comma, then put a 1. Otherwise, comma, put a 0, close bracket. And then when I hit enter, it autofills down, which is what I want. And if you go end down, you'll see it autofills it right to the bottom, even over to the yellow year, which is also what we want. So go control home, and now we're going to go to this first formula, C2, and hold down shift and go across to, because we're going to autofill it to the right. When you autofill down, it's control D for down, but autofilling to the right is control R for right. So control R. Now I'm just going to hit escape here because we don't want to actually go to that thing, and then go to the quarter 2 one. We're going to modify this formula to say if, in my case, if it's the 6th month, it's in quarter 2. So I'm going to go to there and F2 it to edit the cell. I'm going to go arrow towards the 3 and backspace the 3 and put a 6. Again, you put the number for your second quarter. And it autofilled it down, just like what I want. And then all over and across, quarter 3, I'm going to F2 that, and I'm going to arrow over, get rid of the 3, and in my case, 9 means that it's a third quarter. And there they are. I'm just going to save this as is. Now I'm going to rerun the regression. So it's Alt-A, Y2, and Enter for regression. Now it has the settings in it for the past. When it was done before. So I need to change that, and right now it's output range that's selected about halfway down. So I'm going to go Shift Tab to go up to the Y range, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to move to F1, the historic revenue. Hold down Shift and down, and then while I'm still holding Shift, up 4 to not include the last year. And then that's good. Now I got the Y range. Now I'm going to do the X range, tab down. Now the B column is actually correct, but it has to include the C, D, and E column. I know that's weird to have an X range to have all those, but don't worry, just work with me on this. And then so hold down Shift to keep what we have so far, and then right arrow it across 3 to include all those 4 columns. And notice that it's going to 45 already, the line 45, or whatever your bottom line is already. It's And then let's tab down to the output range because that needs to change. It needs to go over 3. So I'm not going to hold down shift or anything. I'll just use the right arrows to move it over 3 to I-22 and then enter. And it's going to say, do you want to override the data that is there already? Yes, I do actually. Go enter. And there it is. Now, last time when we made the formula, we had to use the arrows to go, we used our arrows to go down and refer to the y-intercept and to the period, and we F4'd them, which we could still do here. But there's a whole lot more to do. Instead of just 2, there's 5 of them. So I want to show you a cool technique called a named range. It helps with formula creation. If you go down to the intercept and hold down shift and go down to include all these 5 things, and then go across one. So we're saying that the word intercept should refer to this number, 21,204, and the word period will refer to this number, negative 72.82, and so on. And the way to do that is formula. So Alt and then M for formula, and it's about in the middle at the bottom called Create from Selection, and it's a C. And it says, where are the label names? Are they on the left column like we think? And in this case, they are. They could be on one of the other ones, but I designed it to be the default where they're on the left. And so I'm just going to hit the Enter key. Now they're named ranges. The word intercept means something. I'll show you how you can tell it in a minute. Now I'm going to go Control Home, and I'm just going to remake this formula. So y equal mx, and so the first slope is the period. So equal, and then it's period. Actually, I should do to keep the formula consistent, I should do the actual slope. So the word period, P-R-I-O-D, you see how the little thing opens up below it, and it says the word period? And so I'm going to hit Tab to accept that. Those little blue, 2 little blue squares before it, they're trying to draw a picture of a named range. You know, the first one being the word period, and the second one being the number. You know. So I'm going to hit Tab. So the word period, and then multiplied by mx. The x for this period is this one. Then I'm going to add to that the mx for quarter 1. So the slope for that is Q1. And there it is again. Mine has an underscore below it. Yours might not have an underscore. So I'm going to hit Tab. And then times the quarter 1. And then plus the quarter 2, Q2, Tab to accept it, times the Q2 number, the 0 in this case, and then plus the Q3, Tab to accept it, times the number Q3. In this case, it's a 1. It will actually kick in. And then plus the intercept. And do you see how I started typing it, IN, and it says, do you mean one of these formulas? Or do you see how the 5th one down, the word intercept, the name range, and that's the one I want. I'm going to Tab to accept it. And each of these, Q1, Q2, Q3, intercept, I don't have to hit F4 because it automatically, that word is also frozen. And so I'm going to hit Enter. And it auto-filled it down, which is good, what I wanted. And now, if you look on the chart, it looks a lot better. The MAPE is still off, 15%. What was it for the regression? 15%. And is that still count? Yeah, it looks like it. So the MAPE's still not that great, but it's going up and down at least. And that is the seasonal regression.